Top 10 disgusting but interesting facts about cockroaches. The cockroach is an annoying and unpleasant insect that we humans are still not used to and probably never will be. This is despite the fact that cockroaches have long been used to living side by side with us and seem to enjoy such a relationship. There are many interesting and disgusting facts about cockroaches that many of us don't know. For example, they are super insects, capable of living for weeks without vital body parts. They love our ears, and they can bite us when we stop leaving them food. They can live for weeks without a head. Cockroaches are tough survivalists, and getting rid of them is very difficult. Even depriving a cockroach of its head is not a death sentence for it, because it can live without it for a few weeks. Later it dies only because it has no mouth to eat or drink. Cockroaches can live without their heads because they don't use their heads the way we do. A person dies soon after being decapitated because his body loses a lot of blood and his blood pressure drops dramatically. Cockroaches don't have a lot of blood and no blood pressure. Therefore, a clot forms in the neck, and they keep wandering around as if nothing had happened. Even if we humans could find a way to deal with massive blood loss and a drop in blood pressure, we would still die because our body's nerves are connected to the brain. We also need a nose to breathe and a mouth to eat. Cockroach bodies work independently of their tiny brains. They breathe through tiny holes on their bodies. All of these features allow cockroaches to live headless for weeks at a time. They only suffer from hunger and thirst because they have not learned to quench them through the skin. Interestingly, the cockroach's head remains alive for several hours after decapitation, as evidenced by the moving whiskers. In fact, the head can stay alive longer if it is kept in a cool place and gets enough nutrients. They hate it when people touch them. According to one fact about cockroaches that often appears on the internet, these creatures hate it when people touch them, so much so that they often run away to get rid of this disgusting contact as soon as possible. But it's not what you think. Cockroaches hate people or anything else that touches them because this simple contact can be life-threatening. More specifically, cockroaches also hate the presence of people, just as people hate the presence of cockroaches. Insects naturally run away from larger creatures, whether humans or anyone else, because they know that any contact with a larger creature often results in death. In fact, contact with almost any organism can leave some mark on the cockroach, which can be harmful to it. In the case of humans, these are the natural oils we unwittingly leave on everything we touch. These secretions can disrupt the cockroach's body. The tendrils are the ones that suffer the most. They may seem unremarkable to us, but they are crucial to the cockroach's survival. They function as its nose and are essential for smelling food and finding potential mates. These oils will reduce the pest's sense of smell, which is dangerous for it. They like our ears. You may have read stories of cockroaches getting into people's ears, or even crawling up the ear canals right into their skulls. In severe cases, cockroaches can lay eggs in a host's head or die there. It turns out that these stories don't come up as often as they should. Cockroaches should get into our ears more often than they do. As stated earlier, cockroaches often avoid humans. However, they like to move around in the dark when people are sleeping. And they don't seem to get too worked up about walking on a sleeping person. The wax in our ears releases volatile fatty acids, chemicals that are also released by foods such as bread and cheese. Volatile fatty acids attract cockroaches. When a roach bumps into a human ear, it realizes that it's tight, stuffy and warm, exactly the kind of home they like. And what creature would refuse a free house with free food? Unfortunately, this quickly becomes a problem for the cockroach and the sleeping human. The roach's movements in the ear can cause a sleeping person to scratch the ear. This pushes the cockroach deeper into the ear or even kills it if pushed too hard. A live cockroach can end up deep inside the ear or even inside the skull. The spines on the roach's legs can damage the inner ear, causing infection or even hearing loss if the eardrum is damaged. A dead cockroach is also a problem, and a crushed cockroach is an even bigger problem. Cockroaches have deadly bacteria living in their insides that can cause unpleasant health problems. They can bite people. Cockroaches are omnivores. They eat both plants and animals. In fact, they eat everything, even if it is a living person. Yes, cockroaches can bite people. To be clear, cockroaches don't always seek to bite humans. They usually prefer other food sources. They also don't bite when attacked by humans. Instead, they usually try to run away. However, they may start biting people and even pets when there are so many other cockroaches around that there is not enough food for everyone. But even in this situation, they will still try to avoid biting people. More often than not, a cockroach will bite when it finds small food particles on the body of a sleeping person. They can usually be found around fingers, hands, and feet, which is where cockroach bites usually occur. The bites can be painful and have been compared to the bites of a huge, cockroach-sized mosquito. Treating the affected area after a bite is recommended because a cockroach can introduce dangerous bacteria into your body. They used to love sugar, but now they hate it. Cockroaches love sugar. They will give you a bark if you leave candy, cakes, fruit, and juice high in sugar on the table. Leave regular sugar and they will love you forever. Pest control companies discovered this in the 1980s. They noticed that scattered sugar made cockroaches rush to that spot. So they started using glucose to bait roaches by mixing it with insecticides. After eating this food, the cockroaches would die and return to their homes. Other cockroaches often ate the remains of the dead, which is not surprising since these creatures eat almost everything. The scavengers also died because the bodies of the dead cockroaches still contained poison. This went on for a while until the cockroaches realized that the sugar was killing them. Later, the cockroaches began to resist the sugar. Their senses quickly adapted to perceiving sweet sugar as bitter. Many pest control companies discovered this and immediately replaced glucose with fructose, another sugar. Cockroaches quickly realized this and began to avoid fructose. Scientists have traced this amazing ability to switch tastes back millions of years, when cockroaches first developed the ability to detect sweet but poisonous parts of certain plants, which they perceived as bitter. This skill was genetically suppressed when they began to live among humans and recovered when humans began to feed them poisonous food. Termites are cockroaches. Termites and cockroaches belong to the same order, Blattodea. So termites are theoretically cockroaches. Interestingly, that wasn't the case until 2018. Until then, termites had been referred to the order Isoptera. Studies of the similarities between these creatures began in 1934, when researchers discovered that their intestines contained similar microbes. A research paper published in 2007 finally confirmed that they were related and recommended adjusting the taxonomic ranking to place them in the same family. In fact, the paper proposed that the Blattodea for cockroaches and Isoptera for termites be considered subfamilies within a new family called Termitidae. Several scientists from the Entomological Society of America rejected this proposal at the time because they did not want termites to be considered cockroaches. In addition, there was already another family Termitidae in the taxonomic ranking, which could have caused confusion. Later, in 2018, the ESA put the issue to a vote and backtracked, agreeing to classify termites as cockroaches. The ESA reclassified the order Isoptera as a suborder and placed it in the cockroach order Blattodea, instead of creating a new family as proposed in 2007. But that doesn't mean termites should be called cockroaches. Termites should be called termites and cockroaches should be called cockroaches. Remember the saying that a tomato is a fruit, but you shouldn't put it in a fruit salad? It's a similar situation here. Knowledge is knowing that a termite is a cockroach. Wisdom is not to call it a cockroach. They can shift gears while running. Anyone who has ever tried to kill a cockroach quickly realized that they move very briskly for their size. It seems we shouldn't be surprised because some cockroaches can change their speed. Scientists have compared this to the way horses change from a trot to a gallop or the way cars change gears to accelerate. Cockroaches don't shift gears like cars because their scientists haven't yet invented cockroach mobiles. Instead, they shift gears by changing the position of their legs as they run. Scientists noticed this when they studied Nephoida cinerea cockroaches in 2017. Like most other cockroaches, these run away when they detect a larger creature nearby. When the cockroach runs, the ground simultaneously touches the middle leg on one side of the body and the front and back legs on the other side of the body. This is called an alternating three-legged stride. However, this running is not fast enough, consumes a lot of energy, and makes the fleeing cockroach unstable. Thus, the cockroach begins to use a metachronous stride, where all the legs on one side are off the ground in this order: front, middle, and back. They touch the ground in the same order. Their brains can be used to create life-saving drugs. Here's a disgusting fact that could change medicine forever. Scientists are working to create drugs that could cure E. coli and MRSA, methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus, two deadly antibiotic-resistant bacteria, using chemicals extracted from cockroaches' brains. Researchers discovered that tissues from cockroach brains killed these bacteria when they began investigating how locusts survived in polluted environments in the Middle East. The cockroaches were hooked when the researchers decided to find out how these creatures managed to survive in sewage and drains without dying from the horrible bacteria that swarm in such places. The researchers found that locusts' nerves, as well as their brains and those of cockroaches, contain chemicals that kill these dangerous bacteria. The researchers have not been able to confirm exactly what these substances are. They are still trying to find the answer and hope to use them to develop antibacterial drugs in the future. They can make decisions together. Cockroaches are smarter than we think. They can even make decisions in groups, like many other insects and animals. A few years ago, Dr. José Halloy of the Free University of Brussels, Belgium, conducted a study observing how cockroaches think. He placed several cockroaches in a dish with 3 houses on it and waited to see how they would separate. Dr. Holloway noted that at first the cockroaches came together, touching each other with their antennae. After a while, they separated into houses equally. For example, 50 roaches split into 2 groups of 25 each when they were given 3 houses with a capacity of 40 roaches each. One group lived in the first house and the other group lived in the second house. The third house was empty. All 50 roaches also decided to live in one house when they were given 3 houses that could hold more than 50 roaches each. If they disappeared, the ecosystem would be destroyed. Cockroaches may be hated, but they are crucial to the balance of the ecosystem. If they ever disappear, our ecosystem will be severely destroyed. First, the extinction of cockroaches would have a direct impact on the populations of many species of birds, rats, and mice that feed on them. These animals will not go extinct completely because they usually feed on other organisms and sometimes plants as well. But their numbers will decline. In turn, the declining population of these animals will reduce the number of feral cats, wolves, coyotes, eagles, reptiles, and some other creatures that eat birds, rats, and mice. And it will continue to do so. Some species of wasps, which need cockroaches to maintain their life cycle, will suffer the most. These wasps will go extinct because cockroaches will go extinct. Forests will suffer from the extinction of cockroaches because these pests feed on decomposing matter, which is often high in nitrogen. Cockroaches eat this nitrogen along with the decomposing matter and then excrete it. Their nitrogen-rich excrement is later absorbed into the soil, which supports plant growth. And the absence of cockroaches will deprive the soil of nitrogen. This means that the soil will not be able to support the growth of enough plants, which will affect the populations of the creatures that feed on those plants and the predators that feed on those creatures. This will continue until it's the turn of the top of the food chain. So, guys, we just have to get over the cockroaches.